Once upon a time, many, many years ago, King Shlomo had a good friend who lived far away, beyond the mountains, the forests, and the distant rivers. Every year, this friend would pack precious and unique gifts and come to visit Shlomo's palace in Jerusalem. Shlomo would always greet him with royal honors, give him wonderful gifts in return, and the two would talk for hours. One day when the friend came to visit again, he handed Shlomo a very special gift, a small golden box with a glowing diamond inside, sparkling like a star in the sky. But this time, when the friend was about to leave for his home, he did something different. "Shlomo, my friend," he said, "this time I don't want a gift of gold or silver. I have plenty of that. But I do have a special request. Teach me the language of the animals." King Shlomo opened his eyes wide and said, "My dear friend, that is a dangerous request. Knowing the language of animals is a wonderful gift, but it is also very dangerous. If you tell anyone even one word of what you hear from the animals, you will die instantly." The friend thought for a moment, but then decided, "I am willing to take the risk. This is the most special gift I could ever receive." King Shlomo warned him again and again until he agreed to teach him the language of animals. After the friend learned, he left the king's palace, happy and full of excitement for the adventures he would hear from the animals. One morning, when the man returned from working in the field, he brought the ox into the stable, tied it up, and gave it fresh, fragrant food. But the donkey who had been standing by was left hungry. After all, the donkey hadn't worked that day. It was sick. Suddenly, just as the man was about to leave the stable, he heard a sound. The ox turned to the donkey and said,
"Oh, what a hard day I had. I worked non-stop, and now my whole body hurts."
The donkey, lying on the ground and looking very relaxed, answered,
"Dear friend, I understand you. I have a wise piece of advice. Pretend to be sick. Don't eat or drink, and then they definitely won't make you work tomorrow."
The man, who heard and understood the conversation, burst out laughing. His wife, who was standing next to him and heard him laughing, asked, "Why are you laughing?" But the man remembered King Shlomo's warning and said, "Oh, nothing. I just remembered something funny that happened to me in the field today." The next morning, the ox really pretended to be sick. It didn't eat or drink, and the clever donkey ate all the food in the stable. When the man arrived at the stable, he saw the ox standing to the side and the donkey licking its lips in delight. The man smiled and said to his servant, "Today we'll take the donkey to work in the field. The ox needs to rest." The donkey realized that it had gotten itself into trouble. All the way to the field it mumbled to itself,
"Oh, what a mistake I made. Now it's me who's working."
In the evening, when the donkey returned exhausted from the field, the ox asked,
"So, how was your day?"
The donkey sighed and said,
"I worked very hard. But I heard the master say that if you keep pretending to be sick, he'll slaughter you because he doesn't need an ox that doesn't work."
The ox was so frightened that it immediately jumped to its feet began eating with gusto and suddenly looked very healthy. The man saw and heard this and laughed again. But his wife, who couldn't hold back, said, "You have to tell me why you're laughing. If you don't, I won't eat or drink." The man was desperate. He looked at his stubborn wife, who seriously declared, "If you don't tell me why you laughed, I won't eat, drink, or even move." So what did the man do? He gathered all his family and friends, stood them in a line in front of him, and said in a dramatic voice, "I am about to reveal to you a huge secret, but as soon as I tell it, I will die." Everyone became very sad. Tears began to flow, and all the family members looked at him as though a king were parting with his crown. But amid all the commotion, the man's dog, who was sitting in the corner, refused to eat the food they offered. The rooster, seeing the food, quickly ran and grabbed it, calling all the hens and chicks to come and eat. The dog raised its head in anger and asked the rooster,
How can you eat so happily while our master is about to die?
The rooster, with all his feathers in order, was completely unbothered. He raised his beak and answered,
I'm not sad at all because our master is a fool. He has one wife and doesn't know how to handle her. Look at me, I have 10 hens at home and they all listen to me. I just know how to be the boss.
So, what do you think he should do?
asked the dog. The rooster replied,
If he would listen to me, he should yell at his wife and scare her so she doesn't bother him anymore.
The dog stared at the rooster in shock. But the man, who had heard the conversation, didn't waste another moment. He jumped to his feet and shouted, "Enough! How can you shame me into dying just because of your curiosity? If you keep bothering me, I will bring great trouble upon you that you can't even imagine." The man's wife shrank in fear, stood up immediately and said, I just wanted to know. But if it's like that, I promise I won't ask anything more. From that day on, peace returned to the man's home, and he sighed in relief. The man sat with his donkey, ox, dog, and rooster, and thought to himself, "Wow, what a mess I caused just because of curiosity." And then he realized some important things. First of all, he learned that you don't have to know everything. Sometimes revealing a secret can cause big problems. Thank goodness the wise rooster and the loyal dog saved me, thought the man. He also understood that when you have a special gift, like knowing the language of animals, you need to use it carefully. Not everything needs to be shared, he smiled to himself. True wisdom is knowing when to be silent. And then, when he looked at the rooster, the man began to laugh. Even a little rooster can teach us big things, he said. In the end, the man understood something simple. Knowing when to speak, when to be silent, and when to listen. That's the most important lesson of all. From that day on, the man lived happily and peacefully, and never forgot to thank King Shlomo and the wise animals who taught him a lesson for life.